I used to think the woods behind my parents' old cabin were just scenery from my childhood, towering pines, wind that cut through your jacket, the sharp, clean scent of rain-soaked earth. I never imagined they'd become the place where my parents decided my daughter and I were expendable. Even now, when I close my eyes, I hear it, the crunch of leaves beneath their tires as they drove away. The sound echoes longer than it should, leaving behind a backpack, a flashlight, and the sick certainty that this wasn't a mistake. This time, they meant it. But it didn't begin that night. It began years earlier. My parents, Linda and Mark, made sure I understood from the moment I could walk that my sister, Belle, was the one who mattered. She was the miracle, the center of gravity, the child life had apparently been waiting for. I existed on the edges. Once, when I tried to speak at dinner, Dad didn't even look at me. "Emma, furniture doesn't talk." I was 10 years old. My mother didn't correct him, she just passed the mashed potatoes to Belle. As we grew older, the favoritism sharpened into something uglier. Belle's tantrums were emotional expression, mine were manipulation. Her laziness was creative burnout, my exhaustion was just another flaw. When I got pregnant at 26, the cruelty shifted shape. Suddenly, I was an embarrassment. A single mother they tolerated only when they needed free labor, or someone to watch Belle's boyfriend's kids. My mother complained openly about Lily's crying, once saying she sounded like a siren begging for attention she hadn't earned. Still, I clung to the idea that blood meant something, that no matter how little they cared, there were lines family didn't cross. That illusion shattered the night they insisted Lily and I join them for a family weekend at the old cabin. Dad suggested it with that tight, rehearsed smile he used when cruelty was dressed up as kindness. "You should come," he said. "Belle shouldn't be the only one making memories with us." I should have known. They never invited me to make memories, only excuses. But Lily was 5, wide-eyed and thrilled about the cabin Grandma talked about. She packed her pink jacket and her threadbare stuffed raccoon. I packed food, extra clothes, a first aid kit, everything I'd learned my parents never thought about. The drive was tense from the start. Dad gripped the steering wheel like he was furious at the road. Mom sighed loudly every time Lily spoke. When Lily asked if she could open the window to see the trees better, Mom snapped, "God, Emma, she's already like you, so needy." I swallowed the response, burning my throat. Silence had become survival. The cabin looked smaller than I remembered, as if time had hollowed it out. The clearing felt colder than early fall should allow. Pine needles and rotting wood filled the air, dragging memories I didn't want back to the surface. Dad handed me a single flashlight. "Power's out, we'll manage." "You didn't check before coming?" I asked. He smirked. "If you wanted electricity, you should have brought your own." That was when I knew he was enjoying this. Night settled in thick and heavy. The cabin groaned around us, unhappy with our presence. Lily was frightened by the dark fireplace corner, so we curled together on the couch while my parents and Belle took the bedrooms. No one offered us space, no one even glanced our way. Around midnight, I heard footsteps and the front door opening. I jolted upright. Lily clutched to my chest. Dad's voice sliced through the cold. "Come outside, bring the kid." My heart slammed. "Why? What's wrong?" "Just come," Mom snapped. "You question everything. It's exhausting." I wrapped Lily in her jacket and stepped into the night. The cold hit harder than before. Dad stood there holding my backpack. Mine. I hadn't even noticed it was gone. He dropped it at my feet. "You're always talking about being independent," he said. "Let's see it." "What are you doing?" I whispered. Mom crossed her arms. "We're done supporting you." "You never supported me," I said. "That's exactly the problem," Dad replied. "You won't learn until there's nothing left to lean on." Belle stepped forward then, eyes bright, thrilled. "Just leave her, she needs a wake-up call." Lily whimpered, "Mommy, I'm cold." I bent to zip her jacket tighter. When I stood, I heard the engine roar to life. "No, wait, you're not serious." Dad didn't look at me. Mom slid into the passenger seat. Belle climbed into the back, laughing as she slammed the door. Dad revved the engine. "Figure it out," Emma. Please, I broke. There are animals out here. Lily, please. Mom spoke through the barely cracked window. Maybe nature will teach you what we couldn't. I ran toward the car. Gravel tore into my legs as the tires spun. Lily screamed. Then the tail lights vanished between the trees. They left us there, me and my 5-year-old daughter, alone in the wilderness with one flashlight, one half-filled backpack, and a cold so vicious it gnawed straight through bone. I didn't collapse only because Lily clung to me and whispered, "Mommy, please don't let me die." I held her, shaking. "I won't. I promised. I won't." But promises felt fragile in the dark. That first night dissolved into desperation. I found shelter beneath a fallen tree, where the wind couldn't reach us as easily. I wrapped Lily in my jacket, pressed her to my chest, ignored the damp ground soaking through my clothes. Her fingers were icy. She drifted in and out of sleep, whimpering. I whispered stories, nonsense, fairy tales, anything, to keep her calm, to keep her breathing steady. Because as long as she was breathing, I had to keep going. By morning, my lips were numb, and the forest no longer looked like the place I remembered. It wasn't woods anymore, it was a maze, dense and deliberate, built to lose us. The cabin was gone, no roofline, no clearing. We must have wandered during the night without realizing how far we'd gone. The second day was merciless. Lily's legs kept folding beneath her. She cried for water, for food, for rest. Every snapped twig made my heart stutter, my mind filling the gaps with teeth and claws. I forced calm into my voice, told her Mommy was here. Mommy knew what she was doing, even as I walked without direction, choosing paths based on instinct and hope. By the third day, the truth hit me with nauseating clarity. The map was gone, so were the matches, the snacks. My parents hadn't forgotten anything. They had stripped my bag on purpose. Every smirk, every cutting remark on the drive, every theatrical sigh slid into place like a puzzle I never wanted completed. At night, Lily slept curled in my lap while I stared up at the stars. Something hard and sharp formed inside my chest. It wasn't fear, it wasn't panic. It was resolve. No one abandons a child to die and walks away untouched. That thought became my spine when everything else felt like it might give. The fourth morning nearly broke me. My throat burned with thirst, raw and swollen. Lily's face was pale in the weak dawn. Her lips split, her eyes dulled. When she tried to stand, her knees buckled. I caught her just in time, though the impact rattled my own bones. "Mommy, I'm tired," she whispered. I pressed my forehead to hers. "I know, baby. Just a little longer. I'm getting you out." I had no idea where out was. The forest repeated itself endlessly, tree after tree, shadow after shadow, but Lily needed certainty, so I gave it to her, even if it was a lie. By noon, sunlight broke through the canopy, sharp and blinding, but it offered no warmth. I found a narrow stream threading through rocks. Lily sobbed when she drank too fast. But she drank. I held her hair back with trembling hands, whispering, "Slow, sweetheart, you're okay, I've got you." I didn't cry. I couldn't. If I fell apart, there would be nothing left holding her together. On the fifth day, a distant rumble sliced through the silence. A car, I breathed, hope surging so fast it hurt. We staggered toward the sound, branches whipping my face, roots catching my feet, my vision tunneled. My lungs burned. Then the sound faded. The clearing was empty. No road, no people, just stillness. I dropped to my knees, Lily trembling in my arms. She didn't cry. That terrified me more than anything. Lily always cried. Silence meant she was slipping somewhere I couldn't follow. "Mommy," she murmured, "are we going home?" Something split open inside me, not despair, not grief, but something sharp and unyielding. "Yes," I said, brushing dirt from her cheeks, "and when we do, no one will ever hurt you again, not for even a second." The sixth night, we sheltered beneath a massive rock outcrop. Wolves howled somewhere far away, their voices threading through the dark. Lily lay against my chest, too weak to keep her eyes open. I stayed awake, every rustle snapping me to attention. My arms ached, locked around her, but I didn't loosen them. If anything came near, it would reach me first. By the 7th day, hunger eclipsed everything. My stomach cramped so violently I nearly vomited air. I gave Lily every edible thing I found: blackberries, crumbs of a forgotten granola bar, leaves I prayed wouldn't poison her. I told her I'd already eaten. It wasn't true, but she believed me. She still managed a faint smile when I tucked her hair behind her ear. That smile was the only warmth I had left. By the 8th day, the forest began to bend. Shadows moved where nothing stood. Lights flickered between trees. Whispers threaded through the air. Only one thing kept pulling me back: the sound of Lily's shallow breaths, each one weaker than the last. I carried her on my hip, even as my legs shook violently. When I stumbled, her fingers fisted in my shirt, as if begging me not to let go. I would have carried her until my body split apart. On the 9th morning, a new sound cut through the haze: metal clanging, a gate swinging, the dull rhythm of tools. Civilization. I adjusted Lily on my back and forced my legs to move faster. My lungs felt like they were tearing, but I pushed through the brush until the trees thinned. Fencing rose ahead of us, rusted, tall, stretching across the slope. Relief hit so hard it nearly dropped me. "Look, baby," I whispered, shaking her gently. "We're close, we made it." Her head sagged against my shoulder. Too still, too quiet. Panic exploded. "Lily, stay awake, please, don't do this." I climbed the fence without thinking, ripping my palms open. I lifted her over first, lowering her as gently as my shaking arms allowed, then dropped down beside her, pain detonating through my knees. We followed a narrow path. The trees thinned, and then I saw it. A ranger station, old, weathered, real. I burst through the door with the last of my strength. A ranger leapt up, his coffee spilling as he stared at us. "Oh my God, what happened?" I collapsed to the floor, clutching Lily as the world spun. "My parents," I choked. "They left us. 10 days. Please help her." My voice fractured into silence. Everything went black. When I came to, light stabbed at my eyes, white walls, the steady beep of a monitor, clean sheets tucked too tight around my legs, something warm wrapped around my arm. And then, "Mommy." Lily's voice, soft, fragile, alive. I turned my head. She lay in a small hospital bed beside mine, and 4 taped to her tiny hand. Color returned to her cheeks. The sight shattered me. Tears spilled before I could stop them. I reached for her, but my body felt weighted, uncooperative. A nurse stepped into my line of sight. "She's going to be okay," she said quietly. "You both are." The ranger said you collapsed on his porch. A few more hours out there. She let the sentence trail off. I swallowed, my throat tight, the ceiling blurring. Then the nurse hesitated. "There's something else," she said. "Your family came by." Cold flooded my chest. "They asked if they could see your daughter." Heat followed, fast and violent. My heart slammed hard enough to set the monitor chirping. "No," I rasped, forcing myself upright despite the pain. "They don't go near her, ever." The nurse nodded immediately. "I told them you weren't accepting visitors." Visitors? The word tasted wrong. My parents didn't visit. They abandoned. They calculated. They left a child to die and waited to see if nature would finish the job. 10 days in the wilderness had burned something permanent into me, something no hospital bed could soften. They wanted to see me, fine. Because when I walked out there, I wasn't going to plead or scream or explain. I was going to end it. I pulled the 4 from my arm. The nurse reached for me, but I gently shook my head. My legs trembled when I stood, but they held. 10 days had stripped me down to something solid, final. I looked once more at Lily, asleep now, her small hand wrapped around a stuffed raccoon the hospital had given her. The sight locked everything into place. Then I stepped into the hallway. They were waiting like they belonged there. Mom's face tightened when she saw me, not with guilt, but irritation. Dad stood up, wearing that familiar performance of concern. Belle leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes sharp, as if she were the injured party. "Emma," Dad said softly, "we were worried." "Sit down," I said. He blinked. "Excuse me." "Sit down." Whatever he heard in my voice made him obey. Mom followed, stiff and tight-lipped. Belle scoffed but dropped into her chair. Good. My voice was calm, too calm. You left me and my daughter in the woods to die. Mom opened her mouth. I raised my hand. If you speak, I walk across the street to the police station and report everything. They froze. I stepped closer. You will never see me again. You will never see Lily. You will not call, text, or show up anywhere near my child, ever? Dad sneered. You think you can keep us away? I smiled, not kindly. Already done. His face twitched. What did you do? I signed a no-contact order before coming out here. Shock rippled through them. Mom surged forward. You can't do that, she's our granddaughter. No, I said quietly, she's my daughter, and she almost died because of you. Silence fell heavy and absolute. It wasn't remorse, but it was the first time they understood consequence. Belle stood abruptly. You're being dramatic. It was meant to teach you responsibility. I laughed once, short and cold. You taught me exactly what I needed. I pulled an envelope from my pocket and dropped it at my father's feet. That's my written statement for the social worker assigned to Lily's case. It details what you did. If you violate the order even once, she gets the full report. Dad's color drained. Mom looked sick. And one more thing, I said, turning away. The ranger filed an incident report. Your names are already on it. Their gasps followed me down the hall. I didn't turn around. Their regret was never my goal. Losing access to me, that was the punishment. I returned to Lily's room and sat beside her, stroking her hair. The monitor beeped steadily, each sound proof we had survived something meant to erase us. My revenge wasn't loud or dramatic. It was closing the door they used to control me, and locking it forever. For the first time in my life, I wasn't their victim. I was their consequence. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from.